guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a book review on A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Now I do apologize, I did not put this review up a year ago when it came out. Just after reading it, I didn't know what I wanted to say. I had no idea, I couldn't form words to put down to kind of make a review on this book. But I decided to reread it a second time before the third book came out, A Court of Wings and Ruin, and I just decided it's about time that I do this review. I did a review on the first book, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I will link down below. So definitely go check it out, because if you have not read the first book, you will be spoiled in this review. Although I'm going to try to make this review as spoiler-free as possible. If I do happen to say anything that may be a spoiler, I will put it across so that you won't be spoiled. I do apologize. My thoughts will probably be kind of all over the place just because this book is quite chunky and a lot happens. There's just so much that happens in this book. It's kind of hard for me to put all my thoughts together just because I loved this book so much. So I'm going to start off by saying that I rated this book a 5 out of 5 stars. This book is amazing. It is one of my favorite books that I have ever read. It is just, oh my gosh, it is so good. If you weren't that much of a fan of A Court of Thorns and Roses, if you just, kind of liked it, I think you should still give this one a go because it just steps it up tremendously. I did enjoy the first book, but I think I gave it like a 3.5, 3.75, barely a 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't think it was as good as the other books that Sarah J. Maas wrote, like her other, her Throne of Glass series. So I still wanted to pick it up, and I'm so glad I did because this book is phenomenal. Like I said, it just goes above and beyond, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. The character development, the expansion of the world, the politics. This is very much a character-driven book. We see a lot of relationships form. We're introduced to amazing characters. I do like Feyre more in this one than I did the first one, but I personally think that it's the side characters that really shine in this book. So let's just start off by giving a quick synopsis before I go more in depth in my review. Basically, Feyre is trying to cope with the after effects of what happened under the mountain, and she is suffering through tremendous PTSD. She's also learning to cope with her new body coming back to life. She's now high fae. She's no longer human. She now has special powers that was given to her, and she's trying to learn what is how to harness these powers. She's also figuring out her relationship with Tamlin, and then of course her relationship with Rizan. I call him Riz. I know there's a way to pronounce it at the back of the book, but I say Riz, and it's how I'm gonna say it. At the end of the first book, Riz and Feyre made a deal, a bargain, that he would help her pretty much defeat Amarantha under the mountain if she gave him 1 week a month, I want to say, of her time. So now she's figuring out what she wants to do, and she's realizing that things may not be what they seem from the Court of Spring's point of view now that she is expanding her knowledge of this world and she is visiting the court, the night court. She's just learning, like I said, things may not be what they seem, and learning that there is a war looming over, and she's trying to figure out where she stands and what her role is. Feyre had amazing character development. To me, she was annoying in the first book. I had trouble just kind of getting past her annoyance. She kind of grew on me further on in the book. She developed a little bit more strength as a character, but in this one, what I like is just how raw her PTSD, but how she overcomes it. Just the Feyre at the beginning of A Court of Mist and Fury and at the very end is ridiculous. The first chapter versus, like, even just the first sentence of her thoughts versus the very last sentence of, like, what she's thinking is, like, two completely different people. And she just, like I said, she has amazing character development, and I love the relationship that happens between her and all of the other side characters, and just, oh my god, this book is so good. So we are introduced to new characters. We are introduced to Riz's cousin Moore and his, I guess, like, they're not his brothers, but they're like his family. They've been together, like, they've been a team for like 500 years. Cassian and Azriel. Oh my gosh, those three characters are just, they just shined in this book. Those characters are what made this book so special. I love the dynamics between them and the banter, and you can just tell how much they respect one another and how loyal they are to one another, and they are just so accepting of, like, Feyre and the role that she plays in all of this. And I also love the character development of Riz. We learn so much about him. His character is so complex and intriguing. The entire time I was reading this book, I just kept getting surprised. The ending of this book, there are so many different shocking events. Sarah J. Maas takes the story to, like, the extreme, and it was so shocking just what happened. I couldn't even, like, thought of how the ending, that's how it would have ended, you know? Like, I had no idea. Like, that was not even a theory. Now, also, I will say, this is considered a new adult book. Basically, there are some pretty graphic romance scenes, so I will definitely say that's more for a mature audience. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind. I also love that they brought Feyre's sisters back. In the first book, I thought they were just kind of random, just kind of there, but now I love that they have a purpose. Nesta, she's quite an interesting character. I really like her, and she's gonna have a really interesting role to play throughout this series. Same with Elaine. I do like how they don't seem that significant in the first one, and then as the story progresses, you realize that they are pretty significant, and I love that about Sarah J. Maas. She doesn't introduce a character that won't be important in the future. I feel like all of her characters have a purpose. I briefly mentioned this at the beginning. I love the politics. We see more of the politics between the High Lords, and the world is expanded for us as well. Feyre gets to learn more about the different courts, and she gets to visit different courts, and she is learning about the courts and then also the politics between the Fae and human. So we've got just the politics between Fae and human, and then we've got the Faes, and they're divided into different courts, and each court has their different High Lords, and it's just, and each lord has different powers, and it's so cool. I love it. It's such an intriguing and different premise that I really loved it. We've got an internal conflict between the Faes, and then we've got a huge, massive, like, conflict between the Fae and the human, and then of course the humans themselves have conflicts as well between, like, the different queens within, you know, the human world. And then of course we've got different people, like we've got the Faes who hate the humans that hate the Faes, and then we've got some human and Faes trying to coexist, and it's very, very, very cool, and I love how this book just expands even more on that. I was a little confused with the first book, but that's just what Sarah J. Maas does. Like, she knows that she's going to be expanding her world, so she gives you a little bit of glimpse in the first one and then just, like, expands it in the second one, and I love that. You're just not thrown into a world where you're very, you know, you're confused. You're introduced to it a little bit by bit, and I love that. I like being introduced slowly with the character than just being, like, completely immersed and kind of, you know, info dump. And then of course there's the magic system. I adore the magic system and Feyre learning how to harness her powers. Definitely amazing scenes with that. We learn a little bit about the background of their magic and how it's harnessed, and I really loved that. I do want to touch really quickly on the end of this book because there are feelings that I just really want to talk about, and so now I am going to be diving into spoilers. So if you have not read this book, then I hope you go read it and then come back and finish this video and we can finish discussing it together. First of all, Riz and Feyre being mates. I didn't see that coming. I knew they had a relationship going, but I didn't actually think that they were going to be mates. And the fact that he knew about it when she was human is crazy, but I love it. I love it. I love Riz's character. He's so complex. And I think Feyre being his mate it's so good. It's so good. I'm not disappointed at all with how that happened. But, okay, the other two people that are mated at the very end, Lucien and Elaine, I don't ship it. I don't. I'm sorry. Like, I don't see it. I can't ship it. Maybe it's because, you know, to me, Lucien is the villain with Tamlin. And first of all, I did not see that coming either. I didn't think Tamlin was so angry. What he does is unforgivable, and he betrays Feyre, and like, how can he say he loves her when he does that? Like, if he truly loved her, he should want her to be happy. So that was shocking. I didn't think he was gonna be behind, like, with the King of Hybern, and then the whole, like, cauldron scene when they brought in her sisters. I was just not expecting that. Again, it's just that whole entire ending scene, Tamlin and Lucien walking out, and the King of Hybern being there, and then her sisters being thrown out, and then the fact that they're like thrown into the cauldron. I really thought that one of the sisters were going to die. I was really shocked that they didn't. I thought Elaine would have died. I didn't think she was gonna make it, but she did. And then Nesta went in. I am loving Nesta's character. And even though we don't see much of her, I feel like she has great character development in just such a short amount of time that we see her. Oh, Jurian coming out at the end, like, mind blown. Oh my goodness. And then the fact that Az is shot in the heart with the arrow, and then Cassian's wings are ripped to shreds. I wanted to just cry. That scene was so intense. So then they are able to winnow back to Valeris, but Feyre decides that she is going to stay with Tamlin, and that whole scene where she pretends to break the bond, but it's really just their original first bond, not their mating bond. And then just the last sentence when she walks into the spring court, like, manor, is that they are letting in the High Lady of the Night Court. Oh my god, it's so good. Just the difference between Feyre, like, I have to read it. The very first sentence of Feyre in chapter 1, I vomited into the toilet, hugging the cool sides, trying to contain the sounds of my retching. She's having a panic attack from her nightmares. She's going through PTSD and she can't keep herself. She wakes up in the middle of the night vomiting. And then the very last one. And so Tamlin unwittingly led the High Lady of the Night Court into the heart of his territory. It's crazy. She developed so much confidence and so much strength. It's so good. It is so good. Alright guys, well that is pretty much it for this review. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know it was kind of all over the place, but please comment down below. Let me know how much you enjoyed this book. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!